The War Council chamber on the dreadnought Valtorix hummed with nervous energy, and if I am being completely honest, it smelled like fear mixed with overcooked protein paste. Commander Threk stood at the holographic display, his forearms gesturing wildly at the tactical readout, while the rest of us tried very hard not to look at each other. We had just made what historians would probably call the biggest mistake in galactic warfare, assuming there would be historians left to document our colossal stupidity. "Explain to me again," I said, leaning back in my seat with all the confidence of someone who definitely was not about to witness the end of civilization, "how exactly we managed to lose an entire assault fleet to a species that just figured out faster than light travel 20 cycles ago." Threk's eye stalks drooped. "Captain Vorin. The humans, they what? Threw rocks at us. Used strongly worded diplomacy? Please enlighten me, because our overlords are going to want a very detailed explanation about why 70,000 of our finest warriors are now decorating the vacuum of space near their third planet." The display flickered, showing the catastrophic remains of what used to be Battle Group Zeta, debris fields stretched for thousands of kilometers, twisted metal, and frozen atmosphere, creating a rather artistic representation of military failure. I would have appreciated the aesthetic if it were not for the minor detail that those were our ships. Sub-Commander Lixara, who had the unfortunate job of surviving the encounter, stepped forward. Her scales had lost their usual blue shimmer, replaced by a sickly grey that screamed trauma. "Captain, we followed standard invasion protocol. We sent the Dreadclaw division first, our most feared warriors, veterans of 40 planetary conquests. And the humans called them cute." I blinked, all three of my eyes in sequence, because surely I had misheard. "Excuse me?" "Cute, sir," they said, and I quote from the intercepted transmissions. "Oh, look at the angry lizard puppies. Can we keep one?" The council chamber fell silent except for the ambient hum of life support. Somewhere in the distance a cooling system clicked on, and I wished very much that it would simply malfunction and put me out of my misery. That is impossible. The Dreadclaw division has literal claws that can slice through starship hulls. They breathe methane and can survive in hard vacuum. They have ended civilizations. Lixara pulled up a video file. "Would you like to see what happened next, sir?" No, I absolutely would not like to see what happened next, but duty required me to witness the full extent of our humiliation. I gestured for her to proceed, already regretting my life choices. The footage showed a human station relatively primitive by our standards, nothing special. Then our Dreadclaw warriors teleported aboard, roaring their traditional battle cries, promising death and destruction in 17 different threatening languages. The humans, blessed beings of pure insanity, did not run. They did not surrender. They did not even look particularly concerned. Instead, a female human in what appeared to be casual clothing approached the largest Dreadclaw, a beast named Gorith, who had personally conquered 9 worlds, and said, "Who is a scary monster you are? Yes, you are." Gorith lunged at her, claws extended, jaws wide enough to bite her in half, and the human, without missing a beat, sprayed him with something from a small canister. The mighty Gorith stopped mid-attack, sneezed exactly once, and then began rubbing his face against the floor while making sounds that could only be described as distressed whimpering. "What?" I said slowly. "Was in that canister?" "According to our analysis, capsaicin, sir. A chemical compound that humans consume recreationally for pleasure." "They eat weapons?" "Apparently so, Captain." I watched in growing horror as more humans arrived, armed with various spray bottles, rolled-up newspapers, and something called laser pointers. Within minutes, the most fearsome warriors in our arsenal were either writhing on the ground, chasing small red dots, or being physically picked up and removed from the station, while the humans made cooing noises. "This cannot be real. Tell me this is some kind of psychological warfare simulation." "It gets worse, sir." "How? How could it possibly get worse?" Lixara continued, her voice taking on the flat tone of someone who had seen things that broke fundamental laws of reality. "We then deployed the Shadow Wraiths, our elite stealth assassins, beings of pure nightmare energy that feed on fear. Let me guess. The humans were not afraid?" "Oh no, they were terrified, sir. for about 30 seconds. Then one of them, a male designated Marcus Reeves, said, "Cool, ghost hunt," and they started chasing our assassins with handheld electronic devices, while yelling something about electromagnetic field readings. The video continued. I watched as incorporeal beings that had toppled governments fled from excited humans wielding primitive cameras and asking questions about the afterlife. One particularly enthusiastic human tried to communicate with a shadow wraith using a board with letters on it, completely ignoring the creature's attempts to drain his life force. The shadow wraiths started spelling out "help me" in their language, Lixara added helpfully. I rubbed my primary forehead, feeling a headache building between my frontal lobes. What about conventional warfare? Surely our ships, our weapons, our superior technology. Yes, about that. Threk manipulated the display, showing a space battle that should have been a simple extermination. We engaged their defense fleet near their moon. They had approximately 40 vessels, mostly converted mining ships and early-generation military craft. We had 200 ships of the line. Had being the operative word. Their tactics made no logical sense, Captain. They flew in patterns that violated basic physics, performed maneuvers that should have liquefied their crews, and when we attempted to board one of their vessels, we discovered they had armed their crew with projectile weapons. So, projectile weapons are primitive? Primitive, yes, but highly effective in close quarters when you are not expecting them. Also, humans apparently practice recreational combat scenarios for fun. They call it laser tag and paintball. Boarding a human ship is like walking into a training ground where everyone knows exactly how to shoot you in the face multiple times while making jokes about your mother. The footage showed our elite boarding teams, equipped with plasma rifles and power armor, being systematically picked apart by humans wearing normal clothing and using weapons that threw small pieces of metal very quickly. One human, a female designated Captain Rivera, took down 6 of our soldiers while humming what our translators identified as a popular entertainment song. Did she just reload while sliding across the floor? Yes, sir. The humans call that a tactical reload. They practice such things for entertainment. I needed a drink. Several drinks. Perhaps an entire barrel of fermented glucose solution. Tell me we at least managed to damage their planetary defenses. We attempted orbital bombardment of their major cities. Standard procedure. Maximum intimidation. And? Lixara's scales turned even grayer, which I had not thought physically possible. They shot back, sir, with kinetic weapons. Very, very large kinetic weapons. The display showed what appeared to be massive metal rods being launched from the planet's surface at relativistic speeds. Our ships, designed to withstand energy weapons and plasma torpedoes, were not prepared for someone to throw what amounted to giant telephone poles at near light speed. How is that even possible? The energy requirements alone. They used electromagnetic acceleration, sir. Railguns, they call them. Apparently humans have been theorizing about such weapons for over a century, and were just waiting for someone stupid enough to give them an excuse to build them. 3 of our capital ships vanished from the display, simply ceased to exist as tons of accelerated metal turned them into expanding clouds of plasma and regret. Okay, I said, holding up one hand while massaging my forehead with another. Surely we managed some success. The psionic core. Our mind controllers. Threk and Lixara exchanged glances, the kind of look that told me I really truly did not want to know the answer. The humans are psychologically diverse to a degree we have never encountered, Captain. Attempting to control a human mind is like trying to organize a supernova. They have so many random thoughts happening simultaneously that our psionic core members reported experiencing severe mental strain. Mental strain? One human was thinking about their grocery list, wondering if they left their heating unit active, remembering song lyrics from 20 years ago, planning their evening meal, and imagining a fight with a large predator, all while shooting at our troops. Several of our psionics had to be sedated. I stared at the display, watching the continuing footage of our forces being systematically dismantled by beings who treated warfare like some sort of recreational activity. A human soldier dodged plasma fire while eating a sandwich. Another one stopped mid-firefight to take a photograph of explosions in the background. What? I asked, quietly. Are we dealing with? Deathworlders, sir. The voice came from Science Officer Krell, who had been silent until now, probably calculating how quickly he could request a transfer. We analyzed their planet. Earth, they call it. 70% of the surface is covered in a corrosive solvent that they use for recreation. The atmosphere contains oxygen at levels that would ignite most of our technology. The gravity is 0.98 standard, but they evolved to it naturally. Their weather systems regularly generate destructive phenomena that level entire regions, and they simply rebuild for fun. Please stop saying fun. Their planet is constantly trying to kill them, Captain. Predators, diseases, natural disasters, toxic plants, venomous creatures. The list is extensive. They evolved to be persistent, adaptable, and frankly insane. We thought we were unleashing demons upon them. We were wrong, sir. We just woke up theirs. The council chamber fell into uncomfortable silence as that statement settled over us like a thick blanket of doom. Outside the viewport, stars twinkled peacefully, completely unaware that somewhere on the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star, humanity was probably planning something horrible. Recommendations? I finally asked, though I suspected I already knew the answer. Retreat, sir. Immediately. Send a message to the overlords recommending that Earth be designated a forbidden zone. Leave the humans alone, let them develop on their own, and pray to whatever deities we believe in that they never ever decide to come looking for us. The overlords will not accept defeat so easily. They will want vengeance. Then, respectfully, sir, Lixara said, her voice carrying the weight of someone who had already made peace with mortality. The overlords are welcome to come here themselves and see what happens. I looked at the tactical display one more time, at the wreckage of our fleet, at the scanning reports showing human vessels already salvaging our technology, probably to make it more dangerous and definitely to add unnecessary decorative elements to it. Somewhere down there on that blue and green marble of a planet, millions of humans were going about their day, completely unaware that they had just changed the course of galactic history by being absolutely ridiculous. Set course for home, I ordered, my voice heavy with the knowledge that this would not end well for anyone. And someone start drafting a very lengthy report explaining how we got our tails handed to us by a species that still uses combustion engines. As the Valtorix turned away from Earth, its engines glowing in the dark, I could not shake the feeling that we had just made the second biggest mistake of this war. The first was attacking humans in the first place. The second was leaving them alive, angry, and now very, very interested in where we came from. The stars ahead looked suddenly much less friendly. The journey back to our home system took 3 standard weeks, and during that entire time I kept hoping that somehow the situation would resolve itself. Perhaps the humans would forget about us. Perhaps they would decide that space exploration was too expensive. Perhaps a massive solar flare would conveniently erase all evidence of our existence from their databases. I am not proud of these thoughts, but desperate times call for desperate wishful thinking. Captain Vorin, we are receiving multiple priority transmissions from High Command, my communications officer Kelvin announced, his voice carrying all the enthusiasm of someone being asked to drink acid. They want a full debriefing immediately upon arrival. Of course they do, I muttered, reviewing the preliminary report for the 17th time, hoping somehow the words would rearrange themselves into something less catastrophic. They did not. What is our current status on the long-range sensors? All clear, sir. No signs of pursuit. The humans appear to be staying in their local system. Good, excellent, fantastic. I absolutely did not believe a word of it. Kelvin, increase sensor range to maximum. If a single asteroid sneezes in our direction, I want to know about it. 3 days later, the asteroid sneezed. Captain, sensors are picking up an anomaly at grid reference 74 Alpha. I was on my feet before my brain fully processed the words. Define anomaly. Unknown vessel, sir. Configuration does not match any registered design in our database. It is small, extremely fast, and heading directly toward us. The bridge crew turned to look at me with expressions that ranged from mild concern to absolute terror. I fell firmly into the latter category, but tried very hard to maintain the former. Battle stations, charge all weapons. Raise shields to maximum. The unknown vessel appeared on our main display, and I immediately knew we were looking at human engineering. It had that distinctive look of something that was built by people who asked what if we just strapped more engines to it instead of consulting actual physicists. The hull was covered in what appeared to be decorative paint, bright colors that served absolutely no tactical purpose, and there were visible letters on the side that our translator rendered as Retribution Express, delivering karma since They named their warship, Threk whispered, his voice filled with horror. They named it something sarcastic, I corrected, which is somehow worse. The vessel stopped exactly 10,000 kilometers away, well within weapons range, but not quite close enough to be immediately threatening. A communication request pinged across our systems. Should we answer, sir? Every instinct I possessed screamed no. Unfortunately, duty and morbid curiosity are terrible combinations. Put them through. The face that appeared on our screen belonged to a human male, approximately middle-aged by their standards, with facial hair that our cultural database suggested was called a goatee. He wore what appeared to be a military uniform but casual, like he was heading to a recreational gathering, rather than a confrontation with an alien warship. "Hello there," the human said, smiling in a way that made my survival instincts start screaming. "My name is Commander Jake Holloway of the Earth Defense Initiative. You folks dropped by our neighborhood recently, caused quite a ruckus, and then left without even saying goodbye. That is just rude." I cleared my throat, trying to project authority while simultaneously calculating escape trajectories. "I am Captain Vorin of the Valtorics. Your presence here is in violation of several galactic treaties regarding newly spacefaring civilizations." "Galactic treaties?" Jake laughed. Actually laughed, like I had said something hilarious. "Buddy, you attacked our space station, tried to invade 3 of our orbital facilities, and launched kinetic strikes at our cities. I think we can skip the paperwork portion of this conversation. What do you want?" "Well, see, that is an interesting question." Jake leaned back in his chair, completely relaxed. "My superiors want me to deliver a message, but I convinced them to let me do it in person, because, and this is important, written messages just do not carry the same weight." "You know? What message?" His smile vanished, replaced by an expression that reminded me why humans had conquered their death world in the first place. "Leave us alone. Do not come back. Do not send probes. Do not even think about us too hard, because if you do, if any of your friends do, if anyone in your entire galactic community decides that humanity looks like an easy target again, we will find you. We will reverse engineer your technology, improve it, and then we will come knocking. And trust me when I say that we will not be as polite as you were." "That is a threat." "No, Captain Vorin, that is a promise. A threat would be me telling you that we already backtracked your faster-than-light trail to 3 of your colony worlds, and we have nice detailed maps of your home system including the locations of your military installations, your orbital platform, and that really fancy palace where your overlords live. See? That would be a threat. What I gave you was friendly advice." My blood, all 4 chambers worth, ran cold. "Impossible. We used encrypted navigation protocols." "Yeah, about that." Jake pulled out a small device, turning it over in his hands. "Your encryption is really good by galactic standards. Unfortunately for you, humanity spent the last 70 years getting really paranoid about other people's secrets. We have entire organizations dedicated to breaking codes. There's fun. Your military protocols lasted about 6 hours before a teenager in Singapore cracked them while eating noodles. A child broke our military encryption. Well, technically she is 17, so almost an adult. Also, she got extra credit for her mathematics class, so everybody wins." He paused, his expression becoming serious again. "Except maybe you folks." Threk stepped forward, all 4 of his arms trembling slightly. "Commander Holloway, please understand that we were following orders. The decision to engage your species came from our leadership." "Oh, I know. Which is why I am talking to you instead of launching missiles. We are not unreasonable, despite what your experience might suggest. We get that soldiers follow orders, that wars happen because people in charge make bad decisions. But here is the thing about humans that you need to understand. He stood up, and even through the screen, I could feel the intensity of his presence. We hold grudges. We remember things. We have cultures on our planet that have been enemies for thousands of years over religious disagreements. We have families that refuse to speak to each other over arguments that happened before any living person was born. We are petty, vindictive, and we never ever forget who wronged us. So you will attack us? Not if you do not give us a reason to. See, we are also lazy. War is expensive, requires effort, and honestly most of us would rather stay home and watch entertainment programs. So here is the deal. You go back to your overlords, you tell them that Earth is off limits forever, and we will pretend this whole misunderstanding never happened. We will even return your survivors once we are done asking them questions about your technology. And if we refuse, Jake's smile returned, but this time it held no warmth whatsoever. Then I push this button here, and 17 hidden satellites currently surrounding your ship will demonstrate what humanity does with railgun technology, when we actually put some effort into it. Your shields are impressive, Captain. They will probably last almost 4 seconds. I looked at Kelvin, who frantically checked our sensors, and then nodded, his face turning a pale shade of green. He is not bluffing, sir. I am detecting power signatures consistent with charging electromagnetic weapons. Multiple sources. They were hiding in our sensor shadow. Of course they were, I said, feeling very tired. Commander Holloway, I believe we can reach an understanding. Excellent. I knew you were a reasonable sentient being. Now, just to make sure we are all on the same page, I brought some visual aids. The screen split, showing footage that made my heart skip several beats. Human vessels, dozens of them, under construction in orbital facilities around their planet. But these were not the converted mining ships we had fought. These were proper warships, sleek and dangerous, incorporating what looked suspiciously like our own technology mixed with human engineering. This is the Drake-class destroyer, named after some old sea captain we liked. Over there, that is the Armstrong heavy cruiser. Very nice ship, carries enough missiles to ruin anyone's day. And that big one in the back? That is the Einstein Dreadnought, still in early construction, but when she is done she will be able to crack a moon in half. Humans are very efficient when properly motivated. How long has it been since our attack? 3 weeks. 22 days, actually. Turns out when you give humanity a common enemy and unlimited military funding, we can accomplish amazing things. We went from barely having an orbital defense network to building an actual fleet. Your attack was the best thing that ever happened to our space program, so thank you for that. The irony was not lost on me. We had attacked Earth to prevent them from becoming a threat, and in doing so, we had forced them to militarize decades ahead of their natural development. Future history books, if there were any, would probably use this as a case study in colossal stupidity. I will deliver your message to the overlords, I said, trying to maintain some shred of dignity. Though I cannot guarantee they will listen. Oh, I know they will not listen. People in power rarely do until it is too late. That is why I am also sending this conversation to every major network in your government, your news organizations, and about 40,000 private citizens. By the time you get home, everyone in your civilization will know exactly what happened here and what humanity is capable of. Public opinion is a wonderful thing, Captain. Use it wisely. The transmission ended, and the human vessel turned away, its engines flaring as it accelerated back toward Earth space. The hidden satellites remained active for another 30 seconds, just long enough to make their point, and then they too vanished, either cloaking or simply jumping away. The bridge remained silent for a long moment until Kelvin finally spoke. Sir, what just happened? We got played, I said simply. That entire conversation was not for us. It was a message to everyone in the galactic community. He wanted us to spread the word about humanity, wanted us to tell everyone what they can do. But why? Because fear is cheaper than war, Lixara said quietly, understanding dawning in her eyes. If everyone knows what happened to us, knows what humanity is capable of, nobody else will be stupid enough to attack them. They just weaponized our failure. That is terrifying. That is brilliant, I corrected, feeling a strange mixture of respect and absolute horror. They turned a defensive war into a deterrent without firing a shot at us just now. Commander Holloway could have destroyed us easily, but instead he let us go so we could spread their reputation. Threk collapsed into his seat. The overlords are going to execute us for this. Probably, but they will not attack Earth again, which means humanity stays contained to their system, and the galaxy does not have to deal with what happens when Deathworlders decide to go exploring. I turned back to the navigation station. Take us home maximum speed. The sooner we deliver this nightmare, the sooner it becomes someone else's problem. As the Valtorics jumped to faster than light speed, I took one last look at the small blue planet visible on our long-range sensors. Somewhere down there, millions of humans were celebrating their victory, probably with their bizarre alcohol consumption rituals and loud music. They had no idea how close they came to annihilation, and they definitely did not understand that they had just announced their presence to a galaxy full of civilizations that would now view them with suspicion, fear, and respect. The report I would deliver to the overlords was already writing itself in my mind. Do not engage, do not provoke, do not even acknowledge their existence. Let them develop naturally, and pray to whatever cosmic forces might be listening, that humanity never decides to look beyond their small corner of space. Because the truth we had learned, the truth that would reshape galactic politics for generations, was simple and terrifying. Humans do not just survive on a death world, they thrive on it. They turn challenges into opportunities, disasters into lessons, and enemies into cautionary tales. We had tried to unleash demons upon them, and instead we discovered that humans are the demons other species tell scary stories about. The war lasted exactly one battle. Humanity won without even trying hard. And somewhere in the void between stars, I could almost hear the universe laughing at our expense. 3 months later, the overlords officially declared Earth a forbidden zone. The vote was unanimous. Nobody wanted to be the civilization remembered for poking the Deathworlders a second time. Commander Jake Holloway was promoted and given a medal. The teenager who cracked our encryption got a full scholarship to any university she wanted, and humanity went back to arguing about politics, sports, and what to have for dinner, completely unaware that they had just changed galactic history forever. As for me, I retired from military service, moved to a quiet colony on the edge of nowhere, and started writing cautionary tales about the dangers of underestimating species based on their technological development. My first book became a galactic bestseller. The title, Do Not Feed the Humans. It seemed appropriate.